Welcome back, everybody. Hope you're all keeping well. Next episode is with Jamie the Joiner, who you may have seen on Instagram. Very soothing videos about different aspects of joinery. Really interesting episode today. Really curious to get your feedback on it, so leave me a comment or drop me a wee message. Many thanks to Let Me Repair for being one of the big sponsors for the podcast. They are one of the leading international service providers in the field of consumer electronics and computer technology. Hope you enjoy the episode, guys. Cheers. Ready to go?
Ready when you are.
Right, I actually said to Paul when I came in the day, I need to actually accuse you of something because I've spent the last 3 days watching videos of fucking decking and all that, going down that rabbit hole, your social media. You start watching something, and I hate DIY. I hate the thought of it. It makes me sweat because I'm just can't do it. Just horrific at it. But the videos just suck you in. So if you start watching something on YouTube and you're 10 in and you're about 4 hours later. Have you always done them, or is it just something that's came?
I did back when Snapchat wasn't for 16-year-olds. I used Snapchat. I used to put up like what I'd done through the day, and then I had it when I kind of thought that Instagram seems to be taking off a bit, but I only had just done it on my personal page.
Aye.
So like I'd done it for a wee while, and then I started to think, kind of merging. Some people, my mate used to slag me and say, "Oh, did you fit in our kitchen today?" Like just that was kind of part. So I used to think it'd be good if I could put this in a page where you could go solely for basically wanting to see joining and stuff, and then my other page was like whatever I was doing at the weekend or whatever.
Aye.
So like I put a thing on my page and I said, listen, I'm going to start a joinery like Instagram page. Does anybody fancy following it? It was 100 people said yes on the poll. So I just done it, and I think I actually kind of think it started round about the lockdown, the very first, the starter, maybe just before it.
Right.
And I'd taken Connor on, who's my nephew. So I'd found like to form a company, obviously, to employ him properly, and we were sole traders for so long. And then I just did this Jamie the Joiner kind of tagging because people did know me as Jamie the Joiner, but it wasn't like a well thought of name or anything like that, you know. So I just we page see how it goes, and it just kind of built up. Like more and more people were saying, I can't not watch your thing. I like enjoy finishing my work and having a see what you do. But it's not like I was just kind of thought it was a page for to kind of show people what you're capable of doing, but not just me, like joiners or tradesmen in general. But like it was more like people say to me, "Oh, you must get a lot of work through it," which you do, but it wasn't for that. It wasn't for advertising. It was just to kind of show off I can do this and I can do that, because I don't have any amazing traits that you know, or talents. Kind of do 100 keep ups or anything like that put on the internet. So I just thought I'll do this and ease a wee chance for people to see what you've actually learned to do in your life, I suppose. So I've done that, and it just kept building up as you know, built up over time, and that's been maybe a year and a half or something. Probably since COVID, innit?
6,000 deep now.
6,000, I know. And the thing is, like, I laugh about it, and my mates, they'll slag me and like, there's Jamie the Joiner, and you got that kind of pattern. And some people say, do you know who this is? And all that kind of jazz. But at the same time, there's a lot of people, genuine people, who follow it and enjoy it. And you've also got like people who'll message me, like cracking messages sometimes. Actually, during the pandemic, like one guy had messaged saying, "Thanks very much for this, mate. Actually, one of the reasons is like, I kind of still go on. I like to get up, have my breakfast, and see what you're doing," because he'd lost his job and like just things weren't going well. And he says, "Can I give me a wee lift?" One lassie messaged me a couple of months ago saying she was going through a hard time. She's like, "It sounds really weird, but it's so satisfying watching like stupid things like the joining a skirting boards or whatever, you know." And like wee messages like that kind of lift you up because you know that you're making a difference to people's lives, just that they're actually watching it. It's not just there, you know what I mean? And it's like, I kid on 6,000 followers isn't a lot in the grand scheme of Instagram, but I'm not like, as I said, some lassie that's sitting in a bikini saying, "Look at this," and you know, I'm doing something, and people are actually taking it on. I've got people Ireland and Wales and England, a couple of Americans that'll message as well and say this or that, and so it's kind of all good. Like the difference for me, even I find it amazing. I get joiners message me and say, can I ask your advice in this? And I just think, what are you asking me for? I'm just a daft trainer. Like I'm just the same as you basically.
Aye.
But they've maybe done certain ways that I'm doing the laptop or doing something else, and then I'll watch, if I'm seeing their stuff, you pick up these tips from each other all the time. You don't ever stop learning, basically.
I think that's what I found, because when I started watching them, it's even the ones, I think I watched one a couple of weeks ago, and you're doing somebody's kitchen, and you were fitting the worktop, and then you had a bit of wood left over, and you made the chopping boards out the worktop as well. And it's things like that, because you obviously go into kitchens and you see all these things, but I think as that guy had messaged you and said it's the actual process
of how it was done
of doing it, and then getting to the end, and you might just go, there's a bit of wood, just bin that, and you're like, no, we'll make 2 other bits. Do you know what I mean? It is that kind of journey.
The last day, the owns the house, my mate's wife, she actually thought I'd brought the chopping boards as a gift. And then she messaged me that night and she said, thanks very much for the chopping boards. Wasn't it what's your story about? I realised you made them. That was a nice touch. But I think she must have thought, you get a couple of free chopping boards with a kitchen or something,
No, it's brilliant. Obviously, the whole kind of career thing that you're in now, how did that come about in the first place? How did you get into joinery?
I wouldn't say I was a rogue, but I was probably kind of class clown at high school. I actually did leave at 15. It was more down to my dad I think I was walking home one day with my mate, and I was like, we could be joiners or something, like trades. And I mentioned it to my dad, and then he'd seen an advert in this newspaper for a company. So I remember him marching down. I think I was dog in school or hanging about outside it or something. He came down a bit of paper and he's like, here, sign this. And it was a TV kind of asking for a job interview. So the company that I went to, it turned out my granda he'd owned a company under their umbrella, and they'd bought it. So they wee in there, they knew somebody. And they basically said, we'll grant him an interview, but that's all we can do is just an interview. And I went in there, 15, big skinny boy with shirt and tie on, and very naive, I would say. And I must have done all right. I done the interview, and then the school actually over the summer holiday, because I was 15, interfered, and they said you can't start. You need to wait till he's 16, which was in November. So I said, well, why is it you would rather I was just kind of hanging about the school and not going, or I could work in a building site? And then they said, well, the issue is actually paying. So I said, well, what I did, I'll work for nothing for the 6 months, and then I'll start from there. So I think they changed it, and they managed to pay me expenses or something like that. So that's basically how it started. I got that apprenticeship, CCG Scotland. They're massive, really successful company, very well known in the building trade. And I started there, and must say my first day, I remember sitting in a close in Homely Road at Cathcart, eating my pieces myself on a stone staircase. I just thought, this is not for me. And the guy came out, the tradesman that was working, and he said, what are you doing out there? Get in, come sit with us. And that was kind of it. You just kind of got taken under people's wings all the time. I was looked after. I had the site gaffer there, and his son became my tradesman for a period of maybe 2.5 years or something like that. And they were both fiscal brides, so they ran me up and down, which was quite good as well. Looked after me and brought me on a wee bit, and then they always tried to move you around, so it's a more full apprenticeship. See, some of the boys nowadays are just fit windows and that's it. And other ones will just do kitchens and or roofs. Whereas we kind of get moved around all the different aspects of joinery. So
do you think that's better doing that?
I would say so, because people say to me well, you actually do a lot more. I didn't know a joiner done these things. I didn't know a joiner, and I kind of why would they know do it? It's not just doors and facings and stuff like that, It does make a difference, and you also meet different people. Because I said to you, I was 15, then obviously turning 16, you're starting to travel about Glasgow, and it was men, big hairy men.
Big culture change.
Yes, definitely. So once you kind of settled into it, and then I obviously had an eye for it. I was okay at it, so it pushed me on a wee bit. And that was basically how it started, how I got to, done 4 years, done 2 years mandatory at college, and then a year, which was called Advanced Craft. The company, I think it was their choice to send you to, but they mostly done it if you were, as long as you attended, because it cost money, obviously. So that was kind of it. I went through that, and then at 19 and a half, 20, they paired you up with someone to go out and start making money essentially for them. But like at that time we were working, but we were still kind of getting treated as boys, if you like, because that's your parent company and all the staff and everybody know you as the wee guy that started there and they've seen you all these years, so you're never really going to get. But at the same time, like I wouldn't ever encourage an apprentice. Most boys think, well, that's me, 4 years I'm qualified. Actually, a wee boy in my sister's street was talking to us the other day and he said, that's me qualified. And I'm like, I remember thinking that, like, that's me and over. And I'm learning today, I still don't know everything, I still make mistakes. And so this wee guy was me and he thought he knew everything and didn't, obviously. So I had to stay. I think I stayed with CCG, I was 11 years or something like that, maybe with them, before we went out kind of self-employed. But leaving them was hard as well because it's your comfort zone. That's for that length of time as well, and that's your whole like that's all you know. Training. And did you enjoy the apprenticeship side of it? I enjoyed the on-site, but I didn't really enjoy college. I'm not a big fan of time restraints on or working to a bell or anything like that. And I don't mean that offensive to people who work in an office or work in a factory, but like I always found it was really difficult to 8 till 10 and a bell rang and we went and got our piece, and then it was like you had 15 minutes and then you'd go again to 1 and then you get half an hour and then you had to be there at 4:30. Like college for me, I didn't like that. I like to be able to, always like to, even see if I was football training, I'd like to see the end of where the run was going to end because I wanted to know there was an end in sight. Whereas I just couldn't keep that going, and it wasn't for the time thing with college I didn't like, and I'm probably not a very good studier. Like
too like school.
It was pretty much leaving school to go, oh, it's me, I'm a man, I'm out working and all that, and then you're back at school and you're a lecturer above you. You know? Did
you get more out of the kind of practical, like on-site stuff than
I would say
college?
So, but then the college side of things tells you, you know, things that tradesmen probably wouldn't explain to you as well. You get regulations and all these different things, and actually you've done a lot more intricate things in the college as well. But I much preferred just being on the site and you could get your head down, work away, and then you'd be finished and away up the road, you know. Like most of the time in my working life, I've worked as price work, which is you get a price for instance, fit that kitchen, you fit it, you go home. So there's no times I should leaving it, nothing like that. Whereas I found that if you were in it on a site where you were 8 to 4:30, people plodded. So I always thought if you push people, if you gave somebody an incentive, the carrot and the stick, they'd work harder for you to go and get the job done rather than just go, oh, that's 4:30, I'm getting up the road. Or
if you're sitting at lunchtime, you're like, well, we've got 4 hours to do this, so we don't need to we don't need to hurry with it. So what made you then want to leave them and kind of move to your own?
Without sounding materialistic or anything, money. And it wasn't like, oh, I need to earn hundreds of money or anything. It was, we were working, so it's 2 bungalows, I always remember 2 bungalows next to each other, like a semi-bungalow. And we knew the subcontractors next to us. And this was the kind of start of it. And I went in and I said to them, like, what's the kind of prices you're getting for doing this roughing? Because we're knocking a pan in here and the money was rubbish. And the guy went, I'll not lie to you, Jamie, there's a sheet and just gave us it. So I went into the office and I said, look, there's their price for the same mirror house is what we're doing. Why are they? And it was like astronomical. It was like half plus.
Were you surprised by that? Like the difference in...
I was surprised it was so steep. And the contracts manager at the time just said to me, it's just the way it is. And then I said, so would I be better off leaving? He said, well, off the record, I would advise you to leave. You're still basically boys to the company as such, which is fair enough. And don't get me wrong, like that company promote within their investors and people, and they were very good to me. But they also had staff who thought they were in charge of the company and thought they were in charge of you, and not that I couldn't take authority or anything like that, but I didn't like people talking down to me that there was no reason to talk to me. I was just a normal person, the same, but they felt because of your age or whatever, they just didn't want to, you know, they wouldn't treat you properly. So like that kind of get the ball rolling, and then they moved. So basically my apprenticeship finished, I met another joiner, East Kilbride, Derek Jameson, and the two of us worked together. We must have worked together for like 13 years or something. and the two is we were together and we were happy working together and everything, and for some reason they split us up, like they moved us, and same maybe in the police or whatever they call it, your partner, your neighbour or whatever, but the two of us travelled together, drank together, we done basically everything, and then they just broke us up and said, it was honestly, it's like breaking up your missus. It was like, that's what it was like.
It's a long time but as well, isn't it?
Well, you go through everything together. I mean, we really have everything. We even had kids at the same time. His missus and my missus were pregnant at the same time twice, believe it or not. So like everything we've ever done through our kind of career we've done together, but they broke us up, and it was almost like they're kind of trying to sicken us, you know. And I don't blame like the powers that be above. I blame like the small foreman that just maybe didn't like Dale because he supported one team and he didn't like him because he supported another. And all these kind of things. And that all goes on. And so we end up, I'd messaged a company that they wanted us to subcontract, and I messaged the boy just one night who's actually away from him now, and I just said to him, listen, we've worked with CCG for these years, we've enjoyed ourselves, but we're wanting to move and pastures new and all that kind of thing. And he said, I actually wrote at the end, I'm thinking about jumping ship. And he just emailed me the next morning saying, are you ready to jump ship? And I thought, it's not too serious. The guy seems okay. Let's go for it. So we went, and I think we were coming out with maybe £200 a week more. A week at like 21 or something like that. 22.
It's a lot of money.
It was huge. And it really, we weren't really doing like a massive amount of work. It wasn't like crazy or not your planning or anything like that. So like, I'd said to Dale, like, do you think we should do it? And we kind of hummed and hawed because I said, you're out your comfort zone and you don't know when. And the contract was in Falkirk. So like you're travelling, not that it's miles away, but you were kind of used to Glasgow based, just kind of about South Lanarkshire. So Falkirk, and we done it, and I think we were there maybe 2 years or something like that, back and forwards with them. And that kind of added another branch to you because you're doing different work, but you're also basically self-employed, but within their company, if you know what I mean. So they like pay your tax, CIS. They would take the tax off before they paid you, so you didn't really need to worry about anything. You still got wages in your account at the end of the week. And we had a good time with them, but the contract ran out, and that's the only thing. Like, it's all right saying go out self-employed or go and get subcontracting, but if a contract, that was a council contract, so when the council's money runs out,
that's it.
You're done. Go and find something else. And when you're that young, you've not really got a network, so you can't really just say, oh, phone such and such, I'll phone him. You know? So you don't get as many opportunities probably at that age.
And when you left CCG to then go to that company, did you know right away that it was the right thing, or did it take you a couple of months
we knew. It was more, it wasn't like I wouldn't say they were a better company to work for or anything like that, because you still had the odd arsehole that you get, and it's just part of life.
You're always going to get it.
Clerk of Works that had to justify their job, so they would like pick up on, so you could leave a spectacular job, but like a bit of decorator's caulk could be smudged, but they have to find something, so they, you know, and that frustrates you, all these kind of things. Loading your own materials sometimes, like there's labourers on the job and you're maybe ripping the kitchen out, and then we were having to then go and load kitchens. I know this sounds petty, but see, in a production day, you want everything to run as smoothly as possible, so that everybody's in, everybody's out, and everybody's up the road for a certain time, rather than the longer we didn't have the kitchen, the boys behind us were longer, and so on and so forth down the chain. So like all these wee things kind of still got to you and pissed you off a wee bit. We stuck it out. We were there for a long time and we done really well at it. Actually, whilst we were working there, we were working for my old boss. He was a CCG gaffer, went out on his own, and I kind of done work weekends and the odd day with him. So he'd got us to go up to Mull, and it was the Tobermory Hotel. So like we would finish with him, and we would finish with the subcontractors on the Thursday, which was Kilmarnock, and then we'd travel to Queen Street, go up and stay in Oban overnight, over on the ferry, and work for another 3 days up in that hotel. But Dale took no well when we were up there, so everything work-wise for him had to stop. And then I basically worked whilst Dale, so Dale was unwell. I didn't cover his work, but they kind of gave me a wee bit more to do, but they kind of spread it between everybody that was there. And they were actually very good. McTeer, they paid Dale his wages for a can't remember how long it was. It was maybe like 3 or 6 months, but it wasn't his standard wage, but they paid him a wage because
money.
he was ill and he couldn't work. And it really, like, it was almost like they were looking after him because we'd done well for them, if you know what I mean. So they looked after us, so I couldn't fault them either. I actually got sacked from them, which was a bizarre situation. Dale came back to work once he was well again, and we were working at Toll Cross. Wee guy Andy, don't know what his problem was. He just never really liked us. And I think I'd finished whatever it was to do, and he'd asked me to do something else. It was like a Friday, and I was going to meet Jenna for something to eat in the Stuartfield farm. It's not even there anymore. And we were sitting there, and my phone kept going. It was him. I was like, I'm not answering that. It's my own personal phone. Like, it's Friday afternoon. I finished the job. So then I'd went to go and measure a job. It was my old maths teacher's house, and Jenna was in the car with me, and I answered a voicemail. And it was actually the managing director of the company. It wasn't the wee guy that I thought it was. And he said to me, "This is a disgrace." Well, he was shouting down the phone, like quite aggressive. A disgrace, or whatever it was. Blah, blah, blah. And I was hopeless anyway. I just don't bother coming back, just sacked. That's the way the conversation went. Don't bother coming back.
And this was just a voicemail?
So I was like, I was very, at the time I'm putting on the brave face, and probably now I'm sitting here going, meant nothing to me. But see, at the time, like, see, to hear somebody say you're sacked and that you're not wanted, it was a bit like, and it does dent your confidence.
100%.
And Jenna was sitting crying in the car because she couldn't believe somebody was speaking to me like that, and that I'd obviously lost my job. So I was like, what do you do here? And then I think on the Saturday, the guy who actually recruited me, the boy that said about jumping ship, phoned and he said, "Listen, Jamie, just forget about all that. We'll sort this out and just come back on Monday." And I said, "Listen, I'm not coming back." I was like, I'm not coming back after somebody speaking to me like that. So that was kind of it, and we just floated, I think, for like maybe a couple of weeks. And then, funny where your studio is now. I got in tow with a guy for Carillion, who are now gone, if you remember. Carillion went out of the game. And they got me up here to have a look at a job. I think at this point Dale had been off for his operation, so I was on my own again. And they said, "Right, we'll give you this contract, like, it's just subcontracting again, whatever it was, bathrooms or kitchens or something." And I had to be here for I was going to say an initiation, but like a meeting in the morning and all this, kind of go over health and safety, and this is what this is, and there's your contract, and there's this. And I was in Spain or something the day I was supposed to go, so my brother put all my clothes on and came up, and only one guy noticed that it wasn't me, because he does look like me. But one guy, Kenny, said to him, "I've met you before." And my brother said, "Aye," and he's like, "You're Chris, you're not Jamie." And my brother signed the paperwork. That was it. We got the contract. So, but we select contracts. We ended up working for, and we worked for them for best part of 4 or 5 years. Like subbing again. Great guys to work for. Really looked after us. Don't get me wrong. Like, as with everything, you have your up days and down days. Some mornings, Stuart, I used to kid on to him. He was bipolar. He'd come in and argue with me in the morning. And then by tea time he'd be in saying, "Oh, it's in the rolls a day," or "What are you watching that?" You know, and it was the same. The two of them, the two gaffers there, bounced off each other the same way that me and Dale did. We had a really good working relationship with him, and we made a lot of money for each other because we were, at that point, both of us were very confident in what we were doing, and we could install kitchens ourselves. It was a council contract that you were installing like so many units per day, worktops, whatever. Plywood in the floor, and that was you were in and out, so you'd done it for 4 days in a row, and by the time like 2 or 3 weeks had passed, you were flying through them, you knew what you were doing, and most of the houses were kind of similar, so you get away with it. But as I said, when Carillion went bust, we were driving to a job, I think it might have been Ayr or Parkhead, it might have been Parkhead, and I phoned and I said, "Have you seen the news?" And they're like, "Aye, just don't bother coming in the day, boys, we don't know what's happening." And then it ended up, they lost a lot. I think they lost money, like they struggled, obviously. Carillion just pulled out everything. And I think there was kind of shockwaves throughout, not just the building trade, but I think it got brought up in Parliament and stuff like that.
And see, from your point of view, did you see it like that coming, like, at all?
I don't think so, no, I don't think so, because it just seemed to be, so Carillion were like the main contractor, and they would get the workplace, say Glasgow or whoever the housing association was. So they would get the work in for them, and it kind of ran April to April. But sometimes you'd maybe a month after the time they'd measured everything and got it all going. But we were there for so long, like you just assumed you were getting it all the time. And then that kind of went, and everybody was like, "What do you do now?" And I was like, "Okay, I've got a week's work here. We could do this." And then that week's work, then you'd somebody else. But bear in mind, see the whole time we'd done this subcontracting journey of leaving our parent company and doing subbing. We were always doing wee jobs like, can you hang a door for your auntie? You know, this is, you're young, and then as it builds up, you start to do, right, I could do a kitchen, or, you know, see if you didn't have work for a week, you could say to somebody, I'll do the kitchen.
Something up.
And you just picked it up over time, and you got more confident. And then eventually, when we knew that, actually, tell a lie, they got the contract back under another organisation, and then COVID came in and wiped that out. So, like, that was when we were at the point of, right, we just really need to kind of do our own thing. And that brought us up to, like, so Dale had to surrender his licence. He wasn't allowed to drive while he was unwell. So I was kind of driving him about, and there's a running joke, he used to just call me the driver. He's just my driver. So he couldn't drive at the time. So what happened was, eventually once he got his licence back, and then he got his van, which was like a total blessing, amazing thing to happen, and he could drive again, he was fitting well. We still continued to do like our big projects together, but he gave Dale the freedom of being able to do all his jobs himself, you know, because he couldn't do that for maybe 3 years or 4 years. And I always felt as if I didn't want him thinking he couldn't do it either. He had to stick with me, do you know what I mean? Because I was a kind of mouthpiece of the twos. But like the twos now, we've got our own vans, but the twos still do all our big jobs together, and then all the smaller ones or whatever we can do separate, you know.
Split it up. So how did you find it then? See, getting to that point and kind of sitting thinking, I'm just going to go out myself now and do it that way. Obviously, you've got, as you say, when you work for a company and they cover like your tax and all that, all that's done for you. You're then at that point where everything, you've got to then do it yourself. But what was the kind of big challenges for you at that point that kind of faced you?
I think when the company was incorporated, it was June 19, and I was a big fan of Parks and Recs. And there was a guy on it, Ron Swanson, and he had this very good building company. He was dead dry humour, and I thought that's like quite a hilarious name for a company, because you're kind of telling them you're good at it, but you're taking the piss out of them. And I deformed the company for Connor, because Connor was getting employed through the CITB scheme, and everything had to be official. You couldn't. I think you can do it as a sole trader, but see, at the time I just thought, you know, I might as well doing this and doing it right. So I formed a limited company, and then I contacted my accountant, and I was like, you need to kind of tell me what I need to do. And I think I overcomplicated things. I think I was worried more about the tax thing, but basically, like, I used to think, like, every time you earned money, you had to take 20% off it and hide it, you know, put it somewhere, and then the rainy day came, the tax man came, you paid them and all this kind of stuff. Whereas she made it dead easy when she's like, Jamie, all you need to do is give me these, and I'll do it for you. Whereas I can always thought you had to do it all. You do need to be organised, you need to be in top, like, you need to keep receipts for everything. And obviously watch what you're spending. Don't go crazy. You can't just go out because you get paid off one job and put it on as a money. And like, I don't pay myself a huge amount from the company or anything like that. And I don't treat myself, my treats are like tools and work trousers. That's the kind of stuff that we get off on. That's what we like, you know. But it's not like, I wouldn't say it's like big business or big, like, I don't see myself as a big company. And I also don't want to be seen as that. I always said at the start, like, I want to be approachable. I don't want to see people that kid on, we've got a fleet of 10 vans, and they make it, like, I still talk to guys who'll say, I was just away paying all the guys and dropping their wages in and stuff, and I just think, it's not really a pissing contest. It's like, you do get that. You do get a lot of, like, you get people who want to be seen to be bigger than they are.
Just for bragging.
It's just for ego. And ego, as you know, gets in the way of everything. But like, I think I wanted people to be able to say, I always had a reputation of being a good joiner. People knew me, say, locally, and never advertised. But I wanted people to not be, I don't mean frightened, but there is people who've said to me, okay, I put off phoning you, till we spoke to you, till you came round. It is intimidating for some people because there's this image of tradesmen as well, and it is totally changing now. You don't have the entire builder's bum, rough, like old Glaswegian, they'll talk to you like that and they do the whole estimate thing and all this patter. Like, it's not really like that. Most of the guys, I can't remember the last time I was in a situation where there was a team of tradesmen that I didn't really know, that I thought, I don't really like him, or he's an arse. You know, like, most of the guys are quite sound now. Everybody, it must be a generation thing, but everybody's turning around and like all working together rather than being this sort of, well, I don't give a fuck how I'm leaving that because the tailor can deal with that. And then the tailor comes in, he's got, I don't care, somebody else can deal with that.
And have you noticed that from when you done your apprenticeship to like now?
Yeah. Even the apprenticeship things change. Like, Connor gets picked up at his house every morning by me. He gets his lunch bought from basically every day. He buys me a roll on a Friday sometimes. I need to force him. But he gets like, he's looked after. And Craig that we worked with, Miles Better Plumbing, Craig had a boy, David, who's like a superstar apprentice. But David get picked up a lot for basically the edgy street or whatever. And he get well looked after. Like, the difference with that, with Craig, me and Dale and everybody else around about our age, we were like waiting in bus stops at 6:30 in the morning, going into the town, freezing cold. He'd to walk for so long, then get somewhere else, and he finished at 4:30. It was pitch black before he even, all that kind of stuff. And I don't mean to sound like pure back in my day, but it was different then.
More of a food chain then as well.
And you knew your place, you were an apprentice. Whereas like Connor will talk back to me sometimes, and I say him, like, who's you? Like, I don't mean in a wide way, like, you need to know who you're talking to. Like, I know better than you. But that's their age and their kind of attitude, I think, as well. They're the generation again.
100%.
But things have changed drastically. Apprentices now, don't get me wrong, it's not all, because apprentices with the bigger companies will not get that. But the likes of us, the boys they've hit it off. They're having a good apprenticeship, well trained, like different aspects of each trade, but also getting looked after. He's off the day because it's his birthday. He's 18. Happy birthday. He's off the day because he was going out to the butcher shop for dinner and drinks with his family. And I was like, well, you can have the day off. And you get that with a smaller company, and you probably get better training, probably get maybe more opportunity. Whereas the bigger companies, maybe, and I'm not slandering big companies or anything like that, but maybe just use them for sweeping up the first year and clean the van. And
I mean, you're training, Connor, are you basing that then on your own experiences when you were in that situation on sites and things like that as well?
100%. Like, my sister thinks I'm really hard on him, so that's her boy, and I'm hard on him. The reason I'm hard on him is because I always tell him I want you to be better than me. Like, I'm alright at this job, but I want you to be even better than the way I do it. And the only way you'll get there is making mistakes, but at the same time, cut out stupidity. You need to, if you pardon the pun, like, you just need to listen to what I'm telling you, because if you do it this way, you're going to make an ass. And I made that mistake, so I'm trying to, I don't want to mollycoddle him, but I'm trying to stop him from making the mistake, or I'll show him, if you do it like this, you'll make this mistake. And the reason I know is because I've done it. Like, I still make mistakes. I messed up worktops last week and it cost me something like £1,300 or something like that.
And is he on board with it, or did you get a bit of resistance?
No, he's very particular, actually, sometimes, to the point where it annoys me. When you're doing certain things like roughing, if you're framing a house or anything, you don't need to be the exact millimetre, but sometimes he can be. He does take it on, and he's coming on like amazingly, and it is, I suppose you should be proud of it because it's you that's teaching him. But at the same time, you've got to kind of level that out with like making sure his work ethic's there, like he's still, and he doesn't, he missed one day, he couldn't go off the floor because he was sick, because he was drinking the night before. Happens, does happen. I mean, don't get me wrong, like, he gave him a hard time or whatever, but you can't really hold it against him. He's a wee guy at the end of the day. He's only just turned, he's just turned 18 today, so he's just turned 18. So you can't hold him against, hold it against him, because everybody's done it.
100%.
But you've got to have him tuned in so that, like, it's more about getting out of holes, I think, with joinery. Connor's good at, so far what I've shown him, anything I tell him to do, he can do it, and he does it. But if you come up against an obstacle, we always say, we don't have problems, we've just got solutions. That's a crap pattern all the way around the job with everybody. But Connor, maybe at this age, and myself at that age, you would be thinking, oh, I don't know how I'm going to do this. And you've always got this tradesman behind you that will say, look, this is how to do it.
Aye.
Whereas when you get to a certain age, you actually need to be the one that says,
aye,
I need to turn my brain on here.
And comes up with something.
And know what I'm doing. Aye. And you do get there, but I went to a job as an apprentice with my tradesman and thought it was a banister. And I seen him looking at it and all that, and I thought, I'll never, ever be able to do this.
Right.
I'll just, point blank, I'll never be able to do this. And then, like now, I starting up at a job and I sometimes don't actually know what they want. And I'm like, right, what is it we're doing today? And then I'll look at it and just do it.
Aye.
So it's confidence, you know.
It just comes over time.
Comes with your age and your experience, I suppose, doesn't it?
So you're probably then, he could potentially be in the situation you were in where he's sitting looking at things going, I don't have a fucking clue what we're going to do here.
But I'd rather, if he didn't know, just say to me. There's no, and I still say to people, so where we buy our windows from, I'll go in and I'll say to them, like, this sash isn't opening properly. We'll send somebody out and I'm like, not going to tell me how to do it. And I'm not really ashamed of saying, I don't know. I just don't know. Tell me how to fix this. How do you do it? The likes of certain things with worktops and stuff. Like actually Dale, when he went off not well, the mason miter on the worktop, I had seen it done 100 times and I was a full-blown tradesman, but I'd never really done it.
Aye.
And the problem was, it was easy for me because he would always do that and I would do like the integrated machines, so we'd always do the same thing. And then when he went off, I had to do a lot. Right. So I basically had to bite the bullet and say, right, I need to learn to do this. Right. And he taught me. I mean, he was unwell, but he was still on the phone and saying, you need to do this and do that. And things like that. I think if you have a bit of arrogance about you that you don't want to tell people you don't know. Aye. You get a lot of people who say to you, oh, I'm a joiner myself. Right, we get that every other house we worked in. Or could you come, I've fitted a kitchen, but it's been years since I've done the miter and the worktop. Would you mind doing it for us? I'll pay you. Aye. And I'm like, see, if you'd done it, you'd never know how to do it. Aye. So I had to learn, like as I said, I had to bite the bullet and learn. But also there's periods where you need to hold your hand up and say, I don't know what I'm doing here. Can somebody show me? Somebody who's more experienced or somebody who's in that field, like, as I said, the window, the boys that make the windows will be able to show you in 2 minutes how to lift a sash up or something. 100%. And I don't think it makes you any less a tradesman to other tradesmen. You've got, see your peers all around about you, especially see like the whole Instagram thing. Like, I sometimes think I put on it, oh, I wonder if other joiners are going to look at this and think, that's not the way you do it, or that's rough, or does he think he's a superstar doing it like this, and you know. But they don't really. There's only, as I said, I've had one like guy who absolutely hated me on my page, and other than that, most of the joiners are quite happy to ask you advice or say, well, what about doing this or what about doing it that way, or you know. A lot of young joiners as well and apprentices will message and say thanks very much for this, because it's the wee details within, as you said, within when you're doing the job. And they'll message and say thanks very much for this. I'm actually doing a such and such this weekend or next weekend, and I've been worried about it, and it's kind of opened up the. I mean, as I said to you earlier, like the question and answer thing I put a thing on it about how I lose sleep. Last Monday morning, I woke up at 4 o'clock because I was worried this woman had bought a couch and everything for her house, and I'd told her I'd be able to sheet off her door and open up the door at the other end. I had no idea if I could do it. I mean, I'm not joking. I assumed I could. You shouldn't. My mother hit you with not assuming all of that part. I'll never assume. But I thought I'll be able to do that. And then the panic creeps in at like 4 a.m. because you're doing the job that day. She's bought her couch and everything. That's all coming. All the scenarios. And I'm going, this is never going to work. What if it's a load bearer? What if there's a reason? What if there's pipes? What if, you know, there's always these things that are factors. And I said on the page, like, I worry at night about jobs, and I'm nervous about doing stuff that I shouldn't be, stuff that is bread and butter for me. But I'm still nervous about doing it. I'm still nervous that things are going to go wrong. What happens if you bust a pipe or you flood the woman's house or something major goes wrong? Or all these wee scenarios all creep into your head. And I actually think it's because you care about the job and you care about the house that you're working in, because if you didn't care, like, nerves don't exist, don't know. And it's your reputation as well at the end of the day. You're doing it because you don't want to obviously leave a job and somebody's like, oh, fucking X, Y and Z was there. I know. There's nothing worse. I do think that is what like my mates shop, Raff's shop, Mr. Bond. Like I'd done the shop.
Aye.
Right? Me and Dale and a couple of other boys all. But I think there's joiners getting there to get the haircut.
Aye.
So when they look at it, I hope they look at it and go, by the way, he's done a good job or
Aye.
whatever. So you're kind of leaving your mark everywhere.
Aye.
Because it's not just the standard or random guy who works in an office doesn't know anything about the trades. You're getting tradesmen going in, and I do it. See, when I get in a place, I mean, right now I'm looking up at the door and I'm going, this and that. You can't help yourself. It doesn't matter where you go.
Just do it. Aye.
You just do it. So I'm always like, you need to leave a standard. I mean, the joke about very good joinery, people say like, why did you call it very good joinery? And I think like some people think, is he taking the piss or does he think is he that arrogant that he thinks? But I'm like, well, it is very good joinery you get, but at the same time, you can't go about calling yourself that if you don't leave it.
Aye.
You know?
Aye, you'd get no end of abuse.
I know. One time a unit came down from my mate's house and he messaged saying, not very good joinery. And then he said, really sorry mate, it was nothing to do with you. His daughter had climbed up and whatever she'd done, she'd tilted it off the hanging brackets like at one side.
Right.
And when it come off one, the other one just came away. But luckily she was okay. Smashed all his fancy mugs in China and everything, but she was fine. But as I said, you need to leave a standard all the time.
Aye, 100%.
And that's where you, as you said, the reputation.
Aye. And I suppose the thing that everybody's had the last year or two, how did COVID affect you from a kind of company point of view?
So I fell into a funny category because I'd left being like a self-employed sole trader.
Mm-hmm.
I had founded a limited company and became a director of it.
Right.
I mean, I don't sit in a fancy boardroom or anything like that, I sit in my spare room. So you have to have like clear books for 2 years for certain like government grants and all this kind of thing. And like you were kind of falling into, not loopholes, but like, I don't know, a black hole or something.
Aye.
You're falling into bits where you actually weren't going to get looked after.
Right.
So COVID hit the March, we were getting married in the September. The wedding firm had assured us this will blow over within like a couple of months, it's nothing. So in the back of my head, I'm saying, we just had a baby as well. So I was like, we've got a wee baby, we've got a wedding in 4 months or something, I've got no work, the contract's done, and you're not allowed in MD's house to work. What are you supposed to do? And I think for the first month, I just said to Connor, you come down to my house every day. Whether it was like doing fencing in my garden, we actually got decking and stuff done. The garden's looking good now, which was a bonus for COVID. So you never get to do anything.
No, you're too busy.
But I think after the easing of like the initial lockdown where you could do things, we started to just work in people's gardens. Right. So like, I don't really do decking. I've done hundreds of decking. But the reason being, because you could do it in people's gardens and it was like a safe distance and all that. And then we had fencing and all these kind of things that kept you ticking over, so you were still earning, but you weren't like, it wasn't as if you're flooding through kitchens or anything like that. And then we had the backlog, so COVID 1 and 2 lockdowns where you weren't really meant to be able to work in. At one point, I could go into my mum's house and hang doors for her, but I couldn't visit her for a cup of tea. And I was like, what do you do here? Like you're getting, so we just a wee baby. We didn't really know what we were doing. New parents, you just know, you know, that way. And he wasn't a very well baby, but we didn't have like our mothers there to help us because they weren't allowed in. One day, my brother ate his Sunday breakfast out of our, like, so it's a bungalow we live in. So we cooked his breakfast and put it out the window, and he sat on the deck and he said it shouting in the window. That's how mental things were, because we were like, can't get near MD because we're going to kill them. And then as things transpired and things got eased, like the eased, we started to obviously pick up some more work. And I kind of found that since people have not been able to go to the pubs and buy clothing and go on holiday, etc., like they started, obviously they're spending a lot of time in their house. So they were like, we want this done, we want that done. And then the powers of Instagram and things like Pinterest and stuff, people are spending so much time on them that they're going, I want this. So then I was just getting screenshots over this, do this for us and can do that. And so that kind of helped us and it built us up. We got like a couple of government grants which kept us going. Jenna's she's got her own business as well, my missus, so she, my fiance, I should say, I'll get around. So still my fiance, the wedding's not happened yet, but it's meant to be happening again. So anyway, we got a couple of grants and it kept us going. And I was kind of worried as well because I had Connor,
Aye.
newly employed.
Aye.
And I'm going, I think his first year he get like £125 a week or something like that.
Aye.
And I'm like, where am I going to get that? £400 and something pound a month or
Aye.
whatever.
So it's a lot if nothing's coming in.
Aye, but that was the thing. And you're still paying out.
Aye.
So we were still worried because we get mortgages. Jenna's got premises for our business and you do all these things, car payments and everything. So you just panic.
Aye.
Luckily, like we came out of it steady, we were okay.
Aye.
You weren't up or down or anything like that, but there's people obviously much worse off.
Aye.
Taxi drivers, my brother-in-law's a taxi driver, they all lost out, and
Aye.
so many people. My mum's actually working from home now, but so many people, like, their jobs change the criteria of their job, or their job just doesn't exist anymore.
Aye.
So we are quite lucky, and then now you talk to the trades and it's like boom, like nobody's got any time for MD, like you can't physically book MD.
Aye.
But I'm still finding it really difficult after the third lockdown maybe, and everything eased again. I had to cancel a lot of jobs because of the third one had came in. So then you try to push, let's say, 3 months into a month almost.
Aye.
Just doesn't compute. And you've also got to factor in that your customer might phone at any time. One of my plumbers, he phoned and he's like, Jamie, I've got COVID. I can't work next week.
Aye.
But this customer's been waiting for 6 months, so then you need to break it to the customer.
Aye.
And I actually believe during this whole pandemic that COVID, as much as it's been affecting people, some people have been using it as an excuse for poor service.
Right.
They've just been kind of, oh, well, you know what it's like, the deliveries are poor, COVID or Brexit.
Aye.
But it's just, they haven't bothered to put the order through or something. That's been going on. So then when I then relay that to a customer of mine and say, oh, one of my boys has got COVID, they're like, has he really? Or are you at it? He's out in the piss at the weekend or something, you know? Which it just wasn't true. We genuinely, if we could do the work, we would, because people were saying to me, it must be great when you finish a job and payday comes. And I'm like, do you know what's great about when I finish a job? I get to tick their name off a list or score their name. That's the relief I get. It's nothing to do. It's not a monetary thing at all. It's like, I'm so pleased to get them almost out of my hair. It's not detrimental to the customer or anything like that. I don't mean that in a bad way. I mean, I'm happy. One of my customers said to me the other week, really pleased with your work, Jamie, but I hope I never see you again, because you've been back and forth.
Stressful time, but
you've been back and forth that much with them, and you just don't want to. You don't want to let them down, but as I said, if it piles up, you're then stressed, and then we were working like 7 days, you're working at night, and then we've had, believe it or not, 2 babies during the whole pandemic thing. So two wee boys I've got. I'm not wanting to do that anymore. I felt like, I kept saying to Jenna, like, see if I can get to the middle of June. If I can get to the middle of June, we'll hit everything out and we'll be back on our feet. Everything will be clear and we can start to book people in again. And now we're nearly the end of July and I'm like, I don't know how I'm going to do this. And people say it's quite easy for people to say, why don't you take more people on? But you've got that risk factor of, you've got to find them first. You've got to find good guys. And then when you take them on, they've got to leave the same standard you would. And you don't know if you're going to get that.
And you can't watch everything all the time.
I do have a bad habit of probably micromanaging a wee bit more than I should. I don't mean it in a bad way, but I'm just making sure everything's going all right all the time, and I really shouldn't. Because people are there to do their job and they know what they're doing.
I suppose the good thing is, it's probably had that knock-on effect of, there's so many people that now have a lot of disposable income because they're not going anywhere.
Exactly.
And they're like, classic example, see in my house, right? My missus will tell you, I find everything. So I'll be standing in the kitchen making a cup of tea or something, and I'll just look and I'm like, there's a fucking crack up there. And it'll just
play on
bug me, honest to God. And see in my head, that ceiling's coming down in the next 20 minutes, but it's probably been there.
It's been there forever.
About a year. And that's what we were saying, because we are wanting to get like an extension, and you're looking at kind of different builders and that, and they're like, I'm not getting anything for the next 9 months minimum.
It's very true, and I really dislike telling people no. And I get moaned at home. So Jenna basically runs Jamie the Joiner now, because I don't mean I'm a scatterbrain, but it's so difficult, because I'll literally say to somebody, that's no problem, I'll get back to you, and I forget, or I'll get taken away with something else, and I just can't get around everybody. And it annoys me, because I don't like to disappoint people. We just can't do it. And she's like, you need to start saying, listen, it's 6 months. It used to be, I used to say, like, I remember it's 2 weeks for me.
Aye.
And then it was 2 months, and now it's like, see for a kitchen, you're maybe October, November now. And people don't believe either. Like, see, even my tradesman mates, I'll say to them, I'll say, I need you for a couple of days, because we all bounce off each other. We got a great wee network.
Aye.
And like, we Stu McMillan, Bomb Squad, and Craig, Dale, in the Sparks. We've got 2 different Spark teams we use.
Aye.
And everybody's, this is the thing people need to get about, like, trades business. You don't need to be this governing body like I am Glasgow Builders, right? And then for there, you own all these wee guys and everybody works for you. All you need to do is have a good network of guys and pull them all in at the right time. So like, when we're doing a kitchen project, I know Tuesday I want the plasters in, the Monday the Sparks will come in off the Tuesday plasters, then us go in, then the boys will come in at the end of Sparks and whatever else, and you can book them all in. You don't need to work for you, so you don't need to have this overhead, as I said to you before. You don't need all these, the big I am, and they still work for you, but they work way. And I always try to word it as in that you work, you're better off to say that you work with each other rather than for each other, because then you don't feel as if somebody's trying to be the boss all the time, because you start to resent them. It does happen. Like, you've worked with guys before that maybe start to think that they are your boss, and then you start to resent them, and then you're just like, I'm not wanting to do it. It never ends well. No, and you're better off just to be the whole teamwork makes the dream work. But it does work. It does. It's fact. Everybody gets on the job. Everybody does the job, and everybody actually pushes that extra wee bit to help each other. You know?
How long do you think it will take, from your point of view, for things to kind of get back to a calm level?
I don't know, because I'd like to say hopefully not soon, but at the same time I don't want it to end, because we're doing well. But I could do with duplicating myself. If you could dip me in something and have 2 of me, that's the thing. So people will say, get an R body or get an R guy or whatever, but see, when a customer messages me in the page or has known me for years and wants me to do their next kitchen or whatever, they're asking for me. They're not asking for
somebody else to go.
Here's a boy that I picked up for the tune, because they know me and they trust me because I've worked in the house. You know what I mean? When me and Dale were together all the time, they knew both of us. So if Dale could go to a job for so long and then I would come in at my back, or vice versa, and it's the same for him. See the work he's doing on his own. Like, he says to me, he phones me some nights and he's like, I can't cope with this anymore. It's too busy. And it's nearly everybody you talk to. Like, how do you program work in when people are constantly asking for work, and you just can't do it? And you've also got to, I think people forget, especially people that follow you on social media, they forget that you're like a normal guy that's got a family now. I didn't have 2 young kids 2 or 3 years ago, and I worked all the hours I could. But now things have changed, that you're like, well, I want to spend my weekends. You don't need to be at home, but you want to spend your weekends.
You don't want to be working all the time.
And you don't also want to be dealing with work all the time either. So like Jenna sits on the couch, alright, that's still moaning, so it's Love Island she's watching, but she'll sit with Love Island on doing my paperwork. She'll be doing kitchen drawings or something like that. So like, that's 10 o'clock at night, and it's still going on. And there's another spin for people who are thinking about being self-employed or staying with a company. You work for a company, you can switch off at 4:30. You know, that's you, 4:30, 5 o'clock, jump to train or back in your van and away. Whereas like there's no switch off. There just isn't. The phone's going constantly, and the thing is, it's alright, you could blank the phone call, but what if it is something major that's going to affect something further?
You're then worrying about what it is because you've not answered it.
And you get that, you almost have that, it's not FOMO, but you've got anxiety of, is something going to affect something further down the line here that we're going to end up in trouble with, you know?
And do you find it hard not being able to switch off?
100%.
Completely?
I try really hard, but I would say I'm probably addicted to my phone, because the Instagram thing's great, but your phone goes, you can't help but look at it. Like, you just can't help it. And then people then know that you are attainable. Like, they will make Saturday nights, you know yourself, your page yourself, but you get Saturday nights, maybe people have had a drink or something, no message, much for dating.
Just
much as a kitchen like that. That's the kind of stuff you get because of the drink and they've watched the story, or And you also don't want to be ignorant because it could be a potential customer.
100%, aye.
But I feel it saying like, it's Saturday night, I'm sitting on the couch, I don't really want to get back in talking about work. But that's the thing where you've got this page where people just think I could message them.
Aye, you're there all the time.
Mm-hmm. But you also get like, don't get me wrong, you get a lot of people message really nice things to you, and it keeps you going as well. So you've got to, it's the territory, isn't it?
100%, mate. And we'd obviously spoke about it beforehand, but social media is just a kind of whirlpool. It's just a constant. There's times where I'll sit and you're kind of going through messages, or you're looking at something and you'll look at your phone and you're like, that's like half an hour I've been doing this, and you've nothing to show for that half hour. You've just kind of
disappeared. Aye. But then you do it. I think like me and my brother were talking today about how if you want to do something, you will find time to do it.
Aye.
So he took up golf. Didn't think he had time to do it. Took it up. So if you're going to go to the gym and you want to do it, you can do it. You'll find the time. But people will spend maybe 2 hours watching the telly at night and say they've not got I've got no time for reading, or I've got no time to learn another language or anything. But you can do it if you really wanted to do it. Social media, I find in my own, like, you flick through Twitter, you get lost in Twitter, Instagram. Time I've messaged somebody back, somebody else has messaged, or somebody else has liked this, and then some comment, and you've wasted an hour. And you actually are sitting there kind of ignorant to what's going on around about you in the room as well.
Definitely.
So I've found more that I'm trying my hardest to like just put the phone down and be present with my boys or whatever's going on in the room. But it's hard.
Oh, honestly.
It is hard. Like, you've got, when people are, I almost think it feels as if you need to respond straight away to people. And I think it comes from not wanting to be an ignorant person or come across as being ignorant.
And how do you find the whole interaction side of it? Because obviously you said you'll get brilliant messages, but the flip side of that is there's always the one. The one. Doesn't matter what you do. You could do everything perfect in the world. There's always one that will come at you or message you. Or how do you deal with that?
I've learned to now deal with it with kind of humour. Like if somebody messages saying, "Oh, why did you not do this?" or "What about this?" and sometimes if you don't get back to some people, they might get a wee bit annoyed at you. But I always kind of say, like, if I don't get back to you, go and message me to remind me, because I'll forget. It's just natural. You're that much spinning plates everywhere. How do you remember? But like 3-4 months ago, maybe, we got a guy had put on a thing about how the page had done really well for the year. And I said, with one woman went mental at me one time. I can't remember what it was about. I think she asked me to go and see a job, and I told her I couldn't go, and she took like total grievance with it. And started accusing me of like kind of like almost as if I'd been to her job and taken money off her, and no, that was the level of abuse she was giving me. But in actual fact, I told her I couldn't go and didn't go. So she was moaning for me not turning up, basically, when I told her I couldn't go. But this other guy I'd put in the page, like, we'd only one guy, one kind of arsehole that had been nasty about anything. And I think it was about Connor, maybe. But that was like right at the very start. And we'd nothing else. And like, this isn't an invite to MD to actually start doing it either, by the way. But this guy, like, I think he made up, I found him eventually, he was messaging Jenna. He got an email address, so he was emailing Jenna, and then he was blocking out her booking system. It was all like really things that were very time consuming. And I thought, who actually has the time to do this? So then it was like, it got to the point where he was like sending abusive messages about Cora and then abusing me, and then started sending Jenna stuff, and then he was sending like obscure porn to Jenna and just like all these different things, like just horrible things to our email constantly. And then it was like, he actually one time, he got Jenna's mobile number because he found her business online and registered it with Domestic Abuse Helpline in Glasgow and Child Services and some other major one. But by this point, the police were involved because he threatened to come to my house and shoot my dogs.
Jeez.
And what else did he threaten to do?
And this just all came out of...
Just because he didn't like my Instagram page. But he followed it all the time and I kept blocking him. So the police had to come out and obviously see that Jenna wasn't getting domestically abused and all these kind of things. And I basically had like a folder of everything. Jane had done it with me, and it was like everything that we'd received over just the course of like a month and a half where this guy just lost the place. But I think I kind of want to put it down to maybe he'd been furloughed, or maybe he had lost his job or something, wasn't right at home or something. But I found him, I messaged him, and he said, "Oh, sorry buddy, do I know you?" And I was like, "You do know me?" Like, he said, "I don't know you," and then he blocked me and Jenna and everything. So like, there was a huge trail of being able to catch him, and I eventually pinned him down. I found out who he was. I found his missus on LinkedIn and everything. Married with a wee kid the same age as mine. He's abusing. He's actually, I'll not repeat the language, but he said things like, "She's pregnant again. Hopefully it's no as ugly a such and such as your first baby and all, your first baby and all this kind of thing." Like really dark stuff that was trying to get a rise.
Get under your skin.
I never ever wrote back to him ever. Like, not ever. All I done was block him. And the police obviously dealt with it. They'd done whatever they had to do. So we'd none of it. But like, I think eventually one time he messaged saying about how naff. He was an Englishman. He was from Sheffield in England. It just shows you how mental the whole thing is.
Bizarre, isn't
he doesn't know me, or he doesn't know Jenna. And he messaged, like, he actually one morning sent me my address. He'd got my address, and I think he got it for like a local newspaper article or something like that. But he sent me my address, and he was setting up like fake pages about me, and then started booking out Jenna's. She's got a partner, and she's got a gym. I think it's like fitness classes and stuff. So he started booking out her old system because he'd found it on Google something for years ago. Booked out her old system, and then my mate Rafa, the Mr. Blonde, the owner of Mr. Blonde, he started booking out his appointments under my name, just to be, I don't know, just to be a pain in the arse. And I thought, how can somebody have so much time in their hands? And then kind of died a death for a wee while. I think he got fed up because he wasn't getting any rise out of it. And then it kind of started, he tried like hacking every account we had, like Gmails and see, like some of our accounts, obviously the business runs through, so you've got tax stuff, you get people's personal, see all the boys that work for us, like their national insurance, all these kind of things, all these personal. So that's why we basically had to get the police involved. And like, don't get me wrong, I had people saying to me, "We'll jump in the car and go to Sheffield." Kind of thing. But then at one point I remember thinking, did I just message his wife and say, "Listen, I've tracked this back to your man." With his IP address. I mean, how stupid. He's sending emails with his IP address to his street basically, and his mobile and everything. So I thought, I spoke to Jane, I was like, "Do we just message the wife and say," because she was oblivious. And
to everything.
And I said, "Do we just tell him, listen, you're living with a guy who's sending stuff like this and saying really inappropriate things about kids, you know?" And I went, "Do you know, see if the guy's got something wrong with him and the wife confronts him, what happens if something happens to her or her baby?" And I just thought, it's not worth it. And then that's me pure empathy for a guy who's absolutely abusing me for.
But then that's you're looking at it from a rational
I know,
point of view. Do you know what I mean? It's...
But he was a joiner, the guy. He is a joiner, and he must have just disliked the way I worked, or the. I mean, I don't think I come across as arrogant on the page. I've been told you're very confident, and I kind of think, well, I should be because I know what I'm doing.
But even if you were,
I know,
it's still fucking.
So I got that kind of sorted as such. He tried to hack something the other day, and see now I don't so past the point I can. But like that opened my eyes massively to. I had like pictures of Macaulay, my wee boy, and I had like, you could probably see bits of my house within my business page. And I thought, right, I need to wipe this out. And then at one point I was going to chuck it. My wee mate Tom was like, "Jamie, this is a good thing you've got. Like, why would you take this page away? So many people like it."
100%.
And I just had got kind of disheartened by it. I just thought, this internet, maybe it's just it's no a great thing. Like, it's good for some. It's all right. It's all right because you get the adulation and you're brilliant and feed your ego, I suppose. But then see when somebody's absolutely horrible to you and your family and your missus and your kids and all that, then you just think, well,
people don't see that.
No, because they don't. And I didn't really want to put it in the page. Actually, one of my mates said, "I can't believe you've no told us about this." And I was like, well, I just kind of kept it within me and Jenna, and a couple of other people knew about it. But like, I can understand, see, and I'm not comparing myself to celebrities, but see these people, the celebrities that get absolutely annihilated online. And don't get me wrong, like, seeing Twitter, I've fought with politicians, I've done this and done that. And see, since that happened, I always kind of thought, why now? Because it's all right thinking they're just a public figure and they're not going to listen, or they're not going to take in your abuse or anything like that.
Aye.
But they do see it, because I've seen it, and it'd be the same for. I'm very, obviously, completely low key in compared to somebody else, but like the girl Caroline Flack get hammered that much, she eventually took her own life, and like you have no idea the difference that one shitty comment can make to somebody. See if somebody's really down already, and then they abuse you for whatever. And I find that within our job, see if you cut a worktop wrong, or you hang a unit wrong, or something, you do something stupid, it does knock your confidence. So see when you're getting abuse online as well, you do start to question it and go, like, I'm coming off the social medias, I'm not doing it anymore.
And it's worse because it's there's elements that are brilliant, but it gives people that platform of don't need to put a picture up, can just go on and vent utter bile, and there's no consequence for it. Obviously they're trying to change that, and they should change it, because you should need to give some sort of ID. Absolutely. If you open an account, it's just bizarre.
I don't know why it's taking so long. I mean, see like what happened in England last week, and like the boy missed a penalty because he's black, he just gets absolute abuse, right? If you write the word COVID or vaccine or anything like that on Instagram, it flags up the information straight away, but they can't pick up racist words or abusive words. I think they've started a folder now that they're doing, like, if it's messages that we think might be hateful, we've moved them into another folder. They're still there, you can still go and read them.
And the sad thing is, as bad as it sounds, you knew when the penalties get missed that was going to happen, because people go into Twitter and all that and just fucking unload, and you're reading it and you're like...
I always think, but like, at what point do you think that's going to make it better? Like, why? See the boy, he's not going to turn time back and he's going to score the penalty.
No. And it's the same with you as well. Like, that guy's got like a wife and a kid.
That was what I found was so bizarre. I was like, he's actually almost... My physio said to us, Jamie, it's almost like a mirror image. He's a joiner and he's got a baby the same age as you, and his missus, maybe his missus isn't as good looking as yours, or maybe he's joinery, he's not got as much work than you, and he's comparing his life to you, and I'm like, I'm not putting myself on there to say, look at Jenna and look at this and look at what I'm doing. I don't want any of that. Like, I'm putting myself out there to say, look, there's what we do with the trade, there's all the trades working together, and look what we can accomplish together. And I actually bum other trades up. Like, I never go on another page and go, oh, he's shit, or don't listen. You know, I don't like any of that. I really just don't like the rivalry. I don't see the point in it, because it's not as if there isn't enough work to go around. There is so much. So why would you try and belittle another guy who's just trying to make a living for his family, basically? So I think the guy just took grievance with my page and the way I worked or the way I am. And then, because he did message one time, like, you've got to have fake followers, there's no way you get that many, and then what a naff company name or something, very good joining. I was like, mate, it's almost parody. My company name is almost parody, and if you can't get that, then there's no point in arguing with me.
Why would you care? But
no,
this is what I don't get. Like, see the whole follower thing, like,
I know.
What difference does it make?
You'll see that, like you saying to me, 6,000 is a drop in the ocean compared to some people who have thousands and millions. And see, the thing is, it makes absolutely no difference to the volume or the product of my joinery at the end.
No.
See if I had 300 followers. See if I had 10 million, then I probably wouldn't be doing joinery. I'd be...
that's it. And I think it's all relative, because you've got 6,000 people who have bought into what you're doing, and that's all you're looking for. It's the same with anything. Like, it's the same with this podcast. If people want to follow the page and listen to it, brilliant. If they don't, again, that's your call. Do you know what I mean? It's just one of the things, but it's just this constant. It probably gets back to what you're saying about kind of the old cell building of it's all about size and look how much I've got, and this means I'm brilliant. Well, it doesn't mean you're brilliant.
People steam in and get overheads. I want a showroom and I want a van, but I also want you know, they call them like a Ranger truck, like, you know, the trucks. So it's like a Jeep cat with a cab at the back. I want that beside right, and then I'll get a wee runaround car, and it's all just look at what I've got. And the thing is, you could end up, you go too far and the company goes bust, or you're struggling you're actually end up putting yourself under pressure to make the money to substantiate this, I don't know, egotistical lifestyle. And it's not like you're standing in a yacht throwing money in like Wolf of Wall Street. It's more in amongst your peers within, say, Rutherglen or East Kilbride or Glasgow, there's my name and look how many vehicles I've got, or look how many this, and it's all worthless because like people at the end of the day are only interested in the job you leave them. There's no point in competing with the two joiners who do two things differently. You might get one that's better than the other, but the two of them probably be alright. You know? It's just no for me. It's not something I like. We advertising banners around a local football pitch. That's like the kind of height of my, oh look who I am. There's nothing, and I never put. They said, do you know what, an email or a mobile number? And I was like, nah, I don't want any more work. I was like, what I want is just people to see that I'm about, and if they want to follow me, they can. Like, which actually goes back to see what you said about why did you do it in the first place. My mate said to me, did you just fit in our kitchen today? And I was like, John, see if you don't like what I put on behind me, don't watch it. Because it was on my personal page. So then see if you follow a joinery page, why would you follow it and then complain about what was on it? So that was kind of that was what kind of sparked that to happen. And then that's how I don't understand like somebody taking a dislike to what you put on the page. If you follow a photography page and I'm putting up cracking pictures of landscapes or squirrels or something, you're not going to complain and say there's not enough
too many photos,
too many sunsets. So that's where I'm at with that. But it's the social media thing, as I said, I enjoy parts of it. I love Instagram for putting pictures of like the boys or where we are for a weekend, or if you go, I love to see people's holiday photos. Best thing ever, like seeing people, and know that it's happened anytime soon. Best thing ever. So you see like your mates and their kids or whoever it is. Even I've got kind of older friends that maybe live the freeze from my old aunties and Falkirk. She messages me every once in a while. It's my granddad's sister, and she doesn't get to see him there. And she loves to watch. She's like, I love seeing the boys growing for babies up and see all that. That's priceless for social media.
It's a lifeline for people.
Keeps people going. But the pretentiousness and the falseness of it is what's making society ill. And I don't think anybody can deny it now. Like if you will go through somebody's page and they're even showing you the photoshops of like girls in their bikinis, and then other girls are comparing themselves to other guys that are not every guy's topless, six pack and all this kind of thing, and then all the young guys are buying designer, still living with their mum and dad, spending £100 in betting at the weekend, drinking whatever else they're taking, and then they're having to buy designer tops every other weekend to try and keep up, because you can't post wearing the same t-shirt the second week in a row. That's wild.
It's mental.
And then how does that compute over time? You run out a massive amount of debt, you're never going to get out your mum and dad's house, and this depression starts to creep in for the highs you're getting at the weekend to, oh fuck out, how am I going to pay for this every Monday, Tuesday? And it's been going on for, I don't know, it's getting worse. I would say the past 3 or 4 years I've noticed it getting worse and worse. And when I grew up, there wasn't a lot of people I knew who were like killing themselves, you know, like taking their own life. Unless like there'd been a major incident. You know, like in their past. Whereas now you're finding like one of the apprentices I know, I think 3 of his friends have died that way, and it's all to do with like this. I just think it's social pressure from social media and everything. It's a pandemic nobody's talking about in not so much Glasgow, probably Britain.
It's a lot of unfair expectations. Like I was actually talking to my boy 16, and we were chatting just in general, and I was like, when I was your age, you'd maybe, it's like, you used to save up and buy like a Lacoste t-shirt, which was like, don't know, 50, 60 quid. I was like, but you fucking cherished it. It was like a big deal.
It was an achievement as well because you got it.
But now you've got like, we guys kicking about with £500 trainers and all that, and you're like, fuck, how does that work? But if you don't have that money, that must be horrific. If you're like that wee guy that's how do you compete? You're
within a group of, say, a couple of your mates, mum and dads have got money and they can afford to get it, and then somebody else has got a job, but you're maybe a student, you're going to college or something like that, and you can't compete with it, and then, as I said, it starts to drain on these. And it's all young men. Don't get me wrong, I can't speak for women. It's young men I've spoken to before. Like even tradesmen, I've had proper sit down conversations with some trades that I've worked with, and like people saying I'm really down or I'm not having a good time with this. And don't get me wrong, like everybody I've been through stuff like that, really bad, terrible anxiety at times, and like I think like the trades that have came to me and said like, oh, I'm having a hard time, and then when I said to them, well, I actually see during this period, like when Dale took Nobel, I didn't do very, like I was I wasn't worried. I was worried for him, but also this peak in my brain was like, he was so fit and well, then just like that, he wasn't. That could happen to MD. So then this panic sets in, and you yourself, and you're like he obviously got better, and then that like it kind of relieves you that you stop worrying about that, but then this worrying element's still in your head. So see, when I turn around to people and I said I had a really rough couple of years of like proper panic attacks and stuff like that, they don't believe you because they know they know me as I always kid on, I'm just a kind of mouthpiece, but as you'll experience with talking to but people don't realise that it does affect everybody, and see if you've got that wee inclination of doubt or anxiousness or something, and then something like that, like your mates, as you said, I think a lot of it to do is the kind of drug aspect. I know it at the weekend for kids, but like the young team, and this is all piling on them, and that they're getting high and having a great weekend, and then, as I said, the come down for it's terrible. And it's all right, like you hear it all the time with this, like it's okay not to be okay and talk to somebody, but actually having to approach somebody and say like it's awkward, and you could turn around to your mate and say everything all right, it's fine, but see for the person who's actually suffering to say to you, I'm really not having a good time, it's quite difficult for them. But I think the difference it makes when you do open up to somebody, or even like as I said earlier, when I done a wee Q&A on my page, when I said that I was anxious about nearly every big job I do, or tradesmen wrote back to me and said, I can't believe you wrote this, I feel so much better about this. Because they were worried about that it was them, or they were talented enough, or they were, and one guy wrote, to hear that you worry about jobs makes me feel so much better. And I'm like, of course I worry about jobs, I'm not.
Suppose you've got people kind of sitting in silence, don't saying anything, and you've put that out there and they've went, fucking hell.
Exactly, I know. That they almost, I don't know, they must think that, I think a lot of people think because you're running the page. One guy said to me the other night, I love your confidence and I love to see you doing well. But I could look like I'm doing well on social media and probably not be. Quite easily. So I think when people pick up on it, you're not always spot on. I mean, see, like today I was just a terrible mood. Like really, I actually think it was this, knowing I better get this job done, get ready and get done for a certain thing, because I'm then worried, what if I'm running late and I'm then let you down? All these wee ticks tick over, all these wee things. But no, I think when you open up, especially on the socials, and tell people I feel this way, I feel, and people can relate to it. That's maybe why you get the following you get, rather than people just drifting in and out. Because I like to interact with people. I like to talk to them and say, like, if you're, whatever your day is, some people message me just saying, this has been the best story that you've ever done. And it was like, one girl said, it was a staircase, and I says, really, she says, this was brilliant. And then another person will like go on about, I could never imagine having done, it was a lassie I went to school with a message saying, I've built a fence in my garden because I watched you over the summer. Like stuff like that.
Small victories, innit?
Aye, but it is, it's not major, you're not changing the world or anything, superstar. But you're making a wee difference, and then you're getting a wee lift for other people doing it as well.
100%. I do have a few guest questions that I had to vet and clear through, but before I get to them, probably how we've got to this podcast, when I'd spoke to Mr. Blonde and he'd recommended yourself. I always ask everybody that comes on if there's anybody you know or anybody that's out there kind of doing their own thing that you think would be good to come in and share their journey. But MD, from your point of view, that you would say?
I think like if you're looking for self-employed, most of the guys, it's all trades. So you could probably pull in a couple of different trades to see their aspect of things and whatnot. But like you can always, I don't know if you would pull in people like if you're allowed to interview service people, like say police officers or firemen or anything like that.
Like, told me.
people like that. One of my mates, a policeman, my brother's a fireman. But see, like, if you actually get them to, my brother actually doesn't talk that much in depth about his work.
Mm-hmm.
But see, when he does talk about it, like, it isn't really interesting because you're that used to like standard job, but you know, you don't really hear what he's. I was out a couple of times and that was it, you know. But when he actually talks in depth of the process they're going through or what they had to do at a certain job, you know, like he was the ABC or these big major jobs in Glasgow, done all these kind of things. Like, I would probably recommend getting like somebody from the Blue Lights, even as you know, like, with this carry on with the pandemic, like you could have somebody that's maybe been working in the not so much the front line, I don't know, NHS, but maybe put a different spin on it because like I know it's business based and whatnot, but then it might be interesting to see their side of things, you know, because they are essentially employed by the state and they might have a different view. They might actually have a different view in tradesmen and stuff as well, you know. Might not like us. I know.
Oh, I love that. That is a good idea, actually.
Just maybe a bit different for having. I know it's your kind of business based, but it might give you a different take on.
It's just another insight, isn't it? It's just another view on
somebody
things.
Else to listen to as well. They'll have some amazing stories, I know.
100%. As you can imagine, every second question that came in was either ask him about, he must have been to like some fucking DIY disasters where folk have tried something and he's then had to come in and fix it, or he must have been in some bizarre situations and folks who sees it at some point.
I think I actually seen a complete DIY nightmare. I was doing a media wall for a guy. His next door neighbour had built his own extension out of like fence panels.
Right. Like a house extension?
Had real windows in it, but then had like an internal 6-panel door as the entrance door.
Right.
I think the council have like hammered them so many times they just won't take it down, but I couldn't believe somebody had built it.
Right.
But when we done the council contract, one time there was an old guy who was moving a chest of drawers for us because we had to lift the carpets. And he sat on the couch and then we were outside and the woman came out and says, I think he's dead in there, boys. And we were like, aye, very good, miss. He's like, when can we get in? And we went in and the guy just gave in. So like, you're about to start a job and then it's just cancelled. We've been in ones before where like, you need to get in the loft for piping or boilers or whatever it's going to be, and you get in, there's a full cannabis plantation. And you've got to kind of, like, obviously I'm like, well, I'm not going to say it, but at the same time, the main contractors can't associate with it, so they've got to then pull out. You've got all these kind of crazy things where you've got no idea the way people live or what they get up to in their house until you're in. And then some of the houses we've been in, we've had some kids who have felt like heart sorry for have been in, like, most of the contracts we done were in impoverished areas, and like kids were wearing their school uniform, so they'd maybe like they'd be off on the Monday, we'd be working the Monday, but they still had the uniform on for the Friday. Like, the houses were not anywhere near a standard that kids should be living in, and like we were young at the time, but you still know that this isn't right, and kids weren't getting looked after, you know. So you get like terrible things like that you're just getting in, you're doing a kitchen, then a week later the kitchen's kind of wrecked anyway or whatever. So like we've seen all sorts of sides of things, and then you've also got like in some of the roughest areas absolute gems that make you teammate your roles and everything else, and people who, if you were ever back there, you could chat their door and get and talk to them because they're such nice people. But you've got both sides of it all the time when you're working in these places. But,
is that's something I'm always curious about. See when you're out doing a job, do you prefer when the client just kind of leaves you to it, or they're like, oh, here's some tea and they just bombard you with stuff?
I've never knocked back a cup of tea. Don't get me wrong, I've been in some houses where I'm like, no, you're alright. But I will never ever really knock back a cup of tea, and always make a tradesman a cup of tea makes a difference. Because you feel a bit more comfortable. I've been in like houses, so sometimes it's like a guy who's maybe like widowed or he's on his own or something. Do you want, so if we were working late, do you want some dinner, son? And I'm like, you know, I can smell it. Actually, I do want a bit of dinner because it's maybe 6:30 or something.
Aye.
So I was like, aye, all right. And then he'll like shout in 20 minutes, right, that's your dinner ready. And I'm like, aye, if you want to just bring it up, I'll, no. And you get in and the table's set. So I'm like sitting like this and he's sitting like this with like some guy you don't really know and you're like just talking about the weather and having to eat like a roast. And don't get me wrong, like the dinners are good, but kind of awkward as well. I much prefer make you a cup of tea or do you want a wee roll and I'll just eat it where I'm
while you're doing it.
Crack on,
You must get the feeders as well that are just fucking...
You can't actually finish the job or the food. And then if you finish the food, you can't finish the job because you can't move. Probably countless stories that I can't remember now because I'm trying to dig them up, but like DIY disasters, you can't really describe what you think. Like I sometimes think, what was he thinking? What would happen or how would this look, you know? And then, my husband's tried this or somebody's tried that. And you go in and you've got to try and make a job of it, but you actually can't sometimes. Like you're just like, it's too far gone. You're going to need to rip this out and start again, you know? One time I went to a job and the guy had taken the old door off, sat at the new door, and drawn around it, and then just cut it with a jigsaw. And like a jigsaw, so it was just everywhere. And they're like, can you
just use the old door as a stencil?
Stencil basically. And it's like, can you just? And I was like, no, I was like, that is gob, that's firewood, man. Get rid of it. So you get a lot of people who will try, and don't get me wrong, I actively encourage, as I do in a page, if you've got a wee eye at it, go for it.
Right.
But there is other people, and I still find it amazing, that cannot put a nail in the wall to hang a picture.
Mate, that'd be me.
I just don't know how it's possible. Like I'm like, just hold it and chap it in. See Mr. Bond, one time I went into his flat and he had panel pins. It was an Oasis picture above his living room and he was chatting on his remote control. And I'm like, just no. Just
I'm not that bad, but I guarantee you, if I'd done it in here, I'd find a fucking water pipe that nobody's ever used.
I know.
Bang.
Honestly, that still happens to us. Like, you still will hit a pipe or you hit a cable or something. And obviously, you can do it as you get older and more experienced and educated guesses. But I finished a flat can I get a few clients that buy and sell properties that we do it up. Finished this flat on a Saturday morning. The last thing I had to do was the threshold bars across the laminate flooring. It's a concrete floor and a ground floor, luckily. And all you have to do is drill into concrete, plug in, screw it, and that was it. And I'd done them all, and I had one more, and I drilled in, poof, the water hit the ceiling. And I phoned Craig, it was like 11 o'clock on a Saturday, it could have been at the football or something, that you need to get here now. Like, I'm like holding this thing, there's water everywhere. And I'd hit a pipe that was buried under the concrete, and basically had almost flooded a brand new flat. So like, as much as I don't like to slack, like that house I was talking about, I wouldn't have put it in the page. I should have probably put it on because people would have loved it. But I wouldn't do it because it's somebody's house at the end of the day. And as much as that's a disaster, like I'm still make mistakes, and I wouldn't like people to point it out and say, "Oh, look at this mess," or "Look at this." And,
do you think that's like a rite of passage though? Because you're obviously in that trade, you're going to have a shocker at some point.
No, I know. I am. We were doing a job, a nursing home in Yoka. It was the day of my grand's funeral. So me and Dale and Connor was with us at the time. He'd started. Well, we'll get in, we'll hammer these. It was only like, it was a nursing home, so it was like quite tiny kitchens. We'll get in, we'll get these done, showered, changed and done for the funeral, fine. And Dale came in, he's just, there's this thing stands. I was like, what is it? I've cut. So there's a thing in the trade, 100mm trick.
Right.
So say the size is 1750. Cut it 1650, something like that. Just 100mm off it, right? It's just a mistake, but it happens so often,
right?
All the time, the tradesmen, especially joiners. So anyway, Dale's came in and he's doing this thing. What have you done? He said, I've cut this worktop short. All right. I was like, we'll just need to fit the sink and we'll get a worktop tomorrow and we'll drop back in and fit it again. So I phoned Stuart and I was like, Stuart, Dale's cut this worktop short, you need to order another one. Oh, it's 2 weeks or something for him. The contract was finishing the end of the week. So I says, well, no, we'll come back. When the contract's done, if this comes here for wherever it's coming, we'll come back and we'll do it, neighbour. So he phoned us that day, it came in. It's maybe 3 weeks later.
Right.
So this woman's had a normal worktop, a kitchen run with 100mm missing,
Right.
and then another bit, right?
Right.
I'm not blaming Dale if you're watching or listening, Dale, but it was your fault. So 3 weeks pass, 2 hours are on a job, and Stuart, the gaffer, phones. He's like, their worktops are in, we just dropped them off, we used to get out to Yoker and fit them. So we kind of finished what we were doing away out to Yoker. So we went in, stripped the old ones out, the one that was wrong. And I remember Dale sitting in the worktop, the new worktop. He put a mark in it. He says, I need to jump up the stairs. I can't remember what he'd left, like a drill or something. And he went up. And I'm like, right, okay. So I put the plugs in, pushed this old worktop out the road, and I'm kind of looking up at him. And he was almost like a scene for a movie, like trying to hammer the window, but I was oblivious, right? And I started just cutting on this mark he'd marked right through it. And as he got down, he went, you didn't just cut that, did you? And I'm like, aye, you marked it. He's like, no, I marked the old mark. We've to come 100mm again. So we cut it short again.
Oh, man.
So I phoned the gaffer and I was like, Stuart, Jamie, how you doing, Jamie boy? Blah, blah, blah. And I says, cut this worktop wrong again. And he went, you're good, right? Wait, he's up to this. And I said, no, Stuart, I've made an arse of this. So we had to go and we just had to bite the bullet. We had to drive to the Howdens in Postle or something like that and buy a new worktop for the woman and renew the whole kitchen. Like everything had to get changed. So we were late that night, but then, as I said to you, the mistakes happen. Obviously, it's kind of funny stories now.
Blame him for the line.
I actually blame him twice, but I cut it, so what do you do?
Oh man, that's brilliant. One of the other ones that somebody had asked about, and it was a pretty kind of random one, was from your experience being in this industry for the length of time you've been in it, if there was one thing you could change about it, what would it be?
Change about the industry?
Aye.
I think if you would asked me when I was 16, 17, 18, I did more girls at the college because it was all guys. And the college we went to was all guys, and the one up in East Kilbride, I think, had hairdressing.
Right.
So everybody was like, can't believe we're not getting that one, we're stuck here. But no, if I would change anything about the industry, I think the health and safety thing is massive in everything in life. But it's also like red tape everywhere.
Right.
Like see working in the building sites now, like I don't do it obviously.
Right.
But even when we were on, people's spin on the rules is what annoys me. So if the rules are there, that's fine. You see it with COVID now as well, like the rules are there,
right? But
you have like shop owners or Tesco's or someone else will put their own spin on it.
Right.
So like, if you're doing this, if you're standing up, you need to wear a mask.
Right.
But if you're sat in a bar stool at the same height, standing up, you don't need to wear a mask, right? It's wee things like this.
Right.
So on certain sites, you had like a clerk of works or a gaffer would say, well, all power tools need to be disconnected every time you use them.
Right.
So I'd be going outside, cutting something, then have to disconnect everything, go back in, check it, back out, reconnect everything. And I was like, this is just stupid. And I was like, why are we doing this? What if a kid comes along and starts your saw and cuts it? And I'm like, the chances of that happening, see all these. So I understand health and safety, and I would never knock it or anything like that. One of the things that really got my goat for a long time was, before, I've got my trousers on today, but before really tradesmen had trade shorts, all the brands make shorts now. Used to tell you couldn't wear shorts on a site. So you'd have weather like today, like 26 degrees, wherever you were, you could be in somebody's house and they used to say, there's no shorts, your shins are exposed. And I'm like, my forearms are exposed. What's the difference between my shin and my forearm? Health and safety. And see that line, like just, it was a throw off because they didn't know. See a health and safety inspector or something, they are trained, know their stuff, and are spot on with their job. But see, like the guy who's on the site just trying to, just basically, I'm the boss, I'm telling you. Stuff like that, I would change. I disliked a lot of foremen that I worked for that for some reason when they were joiners to trade or a joiner. I'm a joiner myself, you get heard. When they come off the tools and put the tie on or the shirt or whatever, they became the best joiner that had ever lived. And no matter what you done, they told you it wasn't right, or you weren't doing enough, or like, that's a bit,
they had a better way.
They knew better and they talked down to you a lot, and I didn't like it. Like there was a couple of wee guys that I just did no time for because they wanted respect, I think, if you were to say it, but they didn't really ever earn it. Like they weren't leaders. They weren't gaffers that you thought, I want to work for him. They wanted you to do things when they had nothing behind them. They'd no, there was no reason for me to think this guy knows better. And they were young as well. They probably jumped out of the trade too quick to go behind a desk. And that kind of system I kind of disagree with. I think now I'm 34 this year, and I still kind of think I'd maybe wait till I was 40, because I think at a certain age I'm not saying that if you're too young for it, but you would have more people who think, right, he's served his time, he's done he's a seasoned professional as such. He knows what he's talking about. I'll listen to him. Whereas somebody who went 4 years, you could be 4 years, serve 4 years, not really do a lot within the 4 years, but you've got the paperwork. And then you go, well, I want to be a site foreman, and then you start telling experienced joiners, like men at 50.
But they're doing wrong.
Or saying, you know what, you do this, or you should be quicker. That doesn't work. So stuff like that, I would kind of change, but you can't. That's just, it's not actually what the building sites, the building trade's doing. It's more just human interaction within it. But then is that me coming across as if I still have a problem with authority, or I've got a problem with people that...
But then I think, as you say, I think you're, in any industry, I think you're always going to get the people that if you put them into a position of a supervisor or a manager, it's like a switch. And it just goes and they go full on fucking, just anything that you've done, they could match it or they could better it, or there's just no debate, they're right. And that's it. I think it's just I don't know if it's just a title thing or people need to feed their ego. It's strange.
I do get that there needs to be people in charge, and I get all that. But I also think there is a way of speaking. Like, I would always say to people, like, do you think there's any chance if it's the Sparks or whatever, any chance you could pull the cables in when you get a chance? Like, there's a way of talking to people. There's no going to get out here, what you've been doing, get in, pull them through or whatever. I always say, like, see if you get a chance to do this, or would you mind doing? And then people actually see that you're conversing with them, you're not actually talking to them and telling them. But some people just aren't blessed with skills for doing stuff like that.
Totally agree. And the last one, and it probably goes back to what you were saying, I always get kind of school age kids that will message the page just asking about different jobs, different trades. From your point of view, obviously you've been through that apprenticeship, you've been years in the business, you've got an apprentice yourself now, you're taking him through that, but is there any advice you would give to anybody in that position based on your own kind of experience?
Like a school leaver?
I
think, without sounding biased towards the trades, I think if you have the opportunity to get a trade in whatever, it doesn't need to be construction, like a barber or anything. If you get a chance to go learn with your hands, if you're capable of working with your hands and earn money, you should take it. Like, there's a lot of money to be earned, especially in the building trade. And you don't need to be, as I say, you don't need to be a big, massive company or anything like that. You can do it. But obviously we need people who are educated as well. We need doctors and everything else. So if you want to go to uni, go to uni. I'm not discouraging people for that. What I found was, growing up, once I got to maybe 22, 23, I was still maybe meeting the odd person that I went to school with and stuff. And I didn't leave all my school friends and like that. We just kind of everybody drifted apart. But like, people would say, I wish I left when you left, or maybe left a couple of years after me because they just didn't want to leave school, because you've got that kind of easy, not easy, but it's not difficult.
Comfort zone, innit?
And they say, I wish I left when you left, or I wish I'd went into a trade. But then, like Jenna, my missus, she's got a degree in psychology. And I was like, why did you pick that? And she went, I don't really know why I picked it. I found it quite interesting. I'd done it. But she's never done anything with it. Just her business is completely, she works for us as well. Because she's always done, while she was studying that, she done like drawings for her uncle's company and kitchens and measures and all that. So it works perfect for us. But she's got her own company with her partner doing fitness. So it's nothing to do with psychology. I found a lot of people I knew at that age maybe went to college or uni to not have to go and work, like not be part of the big bad world as such. And I'm not saying that Jenna done that, but what I'm saying is a lot of people went and studied something that they're never ever used.
Aye.
You know?
Aye.
And like, I think if you've got your heart set on, I want to do this, I need to study for 4 years to do it, or 8 years, or 10 years, go and do it.
Mm-hmm.
But if you've got the chance of a trade, if you're not the most, like you're not book smart, or you can't study very well, you're not academic, go into a trade. And because it's all idiots are into the trade either. You're right intelligent guys, and some of the people you speak to, one of the brickies that I've just been working with recently, like life-changing stuff he talks about, and how his road, actually probably a very good person if he would come on the pod to talk to. The road he went down as a young man is not where he is now. But see, listening to him when you're working with him, it's compelling. Like you want to just stop working and actually listen to what the guy's saying. Boy Scott, the joiner that works with, is like, he has a completely, utterly different outlook in life to anybody that I know. Really like laid back, went to Australia and done all that kind of stuff. But like he came to drop Connor a present off at the weekend, and he's like, I'm going to it's like Bikram yoga. But then he was going to meditate after it to the sound of a guy reading Sanskrit and banging a gong. And it was to lift levels of meditation up with this. And I'm sitting going, I work with this guy and get on great with him, but completely different person for me. So you don't need to fit a criteria to be a tradesman. You know, you don't need to be thick or rough or hard. There's nothing like that.
You've not been able to do anything else.
It's not nothing like that. You just, if you're in the position, you need to apply yourself. You really do, and that's it. And that's how you become good at it.
Love that. Mate, it's been brilliant. It's been good to just listen to somebody that's come out of school at that age, but rather than just going to a job, you've done the apprenticeship thing, you've done that whole journey, you've then worked for companies, and obviously it's been a long time and you've had bad points in that, but you've took the positives and kind of moved on to the next level. And even with what you're doing just now, and like with what you're talking about the socials and like the shit that's came with that, but you're still there, kind of batting it out. But it's been amazing, mate. Absolutely brilliant.
It's actually kind of weird to sit and talk about it, because it's like you're kind of trying to remember things that's went on, but you obviously you don't. But like, I've enjoyed it. Thanks for having me. It was an experience. I've got product placement. It's just a wee mug, so you'll maybe not be putting anything hot in it anytime soon with the weather, but you can keep it in your desk in the winter and have a wee cup of tea or something.
Let's see it. We'll get it out onto it.
It's funny, like, people ask for mugs, so give one away with every kitchen I finish, but people on the page were like, oh, can we get a mug? And I was like, I'm going to take Gary a mug in for having...
Missus will love this, man.
Having us on the show.
Mugs in the house. Yes.
There you go.
Love that.
I know.
Get that on the camera.
Actually one of my favourite mugs to drink out in the house.
It's been brilliant, mate. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Thanks.
Cheers.
Thanks
Thank
for having
you.
us. Cheers.